Hi, this is Steve Kramer again, and I want to start out with a little apology. I was looking back at the first two videos, and it was evident that I had a teleprompter, and I guess it fits with going to real estate school. It was a little boring. So my apologies. I'd like to start out with just a couple of minor things we talked about before. One, anybody who offers to pay for your school to go to work for them and says anything about a 2-3 year contract to work for them, run. You have no idea what you're getting into until you're there. Give yourself a break. It may cost you a few bucks up front, but let's face it, this is your career. So let's talk about how we get around to finding that company that we like to go to work for. I'll start by telling you something I think is real important, and that is there's good news and there's bad news. Good news is there's a broker for everybody who gets through school. Bad news is there's a broker for everybody who gets through school. That means brokers are just not as selective as they could be. If we were, I'm guilty too at times, we wouldn't have the failure rate we've got. Now let's start talking about the kinds of companies that you might consider going to work for. I'm going to do it in the sequence that I got into the business. Let's start with the traditional real estate brokerage. Now a lot of people go, oh no, but I can tell you this. Traditional real estate brokerages usually have commission splits. They can start at 50-50 or 60-40. If you're lucky, they might even start you at 70-30. You work for the broker. But remember something. That portion that he gets, somebody's got to pay the rent, the secretary, everything else that goes on with the company. He's not trying to take advantage of you. He's trying to make a living and be fair about it. Many traditional real estate brokerages offer benefits that other companies don't. Those benefits usually are commitment to you as an agent, commitment to training. If I hadn't been with a great traditional company when I started out, I don't know if I would have made it as long as I did, but I was. The first year was phenomenal. My first trainer wasn't so good. He had me knock one door, say, "No, anybody wants to buy or sell a house?" When they said no, he said, "Just keep doing that until somebody says yes." Well, thankfully, the company eventually got to the point where we really had some super training with great agents. Made all the difference in the world. I might have stayed there, except for one thing, which is typical in the real estate business, and that's that the broker got a little greedy. He came back to us. We were on 60-40s. We didn't know any better. Came back and said, "Oh, I don't know how to tell you this, guys, but the market's been a little tough. We have to make some adjustments. We're going to change your split to 55-45. His timing was terrible because that was when RE/MAX was just getting started. They had been driving me crazy trying to get him to go to work for them, and I jumped at the chance. Back then, RE/MAX was truly a 100% company. We'll get to those later on. So when I left the traditional company, I did end up going with the big boys, red, white, and blue. Loved my time with them. I started out as an agent. 6 months later, I was a broker owner. Had a great office, 35 agents, some of the best agents I have ever seen in the real estate business. And we made a lot of money and had a lot of fun over about a 5-6 year period of time. At the end of that, I ended up going into politics for a little while, but I always kept my fingers into real estate. When I got back out, I went independent for a while. By the way, there's nothing wrong with that. But let me explain a little bit about the 100% concept. There are some true misunderstandings. Number one, there aren't many real 100% companies anymore. When I started with that company, there was only 80 agents in the whole country, and it was truly 100%. By 100%, what that means is you get a check for 100% of the commission that you generated. Now, the little hooker, you also get a bill every month that represents your share of the rent, the phone, the copy machine, anything else that goes in the office. That gets together and you get a bill for it. Included in that back in the old days was $350 that went to the broker, and that's all the broker made when he ran one of those offices. Well, those bills back then would run $1,000, $1,100 a month. Well, if you're doing a lot of business, that was a really good deal. As with all things, things changed. As it got bigger and bigger and bigger, they had to start charging franchise fees, 5% off the top, plus your share of the expenses. And from the people I've talked to and the friends I've known that have left and gone there, they'll see bills in the neighborhood of $1,200 to $1,500, some as much as $2,000 a month. And that can be a little tough on anybody. But I can tell you this, I made a lot of money and I had a great deal of friends. And some of my very best friends are still people that I met and worked with at the big company. Well, as I said, I went into politics for a while, came back out, was independent, found out something with independent. That's a lot of fun, except that it's real hard to take a vacation or go anyplace when you have nobody else to cover your business. So then I turned around and I said, okay, what else can I do? I went to work for I bought a large franchise company, another 100% company. Had a pretty good time, but then I also found out, son of a gun, everybody's trying to top you. I'll give you more, I'll do this, I'll do that. Fact is, most 100% companies do not have the kind of training you as a new agent are going to need. Now, they all say that they have a lot of training, but the fact is, they were designed for experienced agents. And if you're not, it can be a little bit tough walking into that. It's kind of like a lion's den or a bunch of independent people, great agents, but they don't have a lot of time to spend with newcomers. Nothing against them, it's just a fact of life. And that second 100% company we had a good time, made some money. Had a bad regional owner. Finally said, the heck with this. And we went to another kind of a company. Let's get another one in. Let's talk the two other big opportunities you have in the real estate industry today. There's the profit sharing company. I think most of you, if you look around, you'll find who that is. Big company. Take a look at their offices, take a look at the number of people, and find out how many people make a living at it and don't just do a deal or two a year. It's really tough when you're surrounded by people who really aren't working at it. And they have a monthly fee, and it varies depending on what you do. You get some expense fees back, some other things. And then the theory is, at the end of the year or end of every month, you will get a portion of the profits. Well, having been a business major at the University of Colorado, it didn't take me long to figure out something. Profit is what is left after all of the expenses. What are the expenses? Your guess is as good as mine. You know it's going to be phone, rent, office managers, secretaries, printing, copying, everything else divided amongst the agents. And then whatever percentage left goes to the company. And at the end of the month, they turn around and they say, okay, the owners get a certain percentage, and they take the rest of it and divide it amongst the agents according to how much business they did. At one time, I thought, boy, that's great. That's the first time I'd ever seen any company wanting to give anything back. All I can tell you on that is look carefully, read between the lines, and then talk to other people. Their profit sharing is based on how much you bring into the office. That's your share of the profit, percentage of profit that you brought in. And then you get profit sharing from other agents that you brought in. 6 levels deep. I don't understand the whole thing. You really have to talk to the broker. Interesting concept. Now, the company I'm with now, and I admit I'm prejudiced, Exit Realty Corp International. We own a company called Exit One here in Denver. And we deal with residuals. Okay, what's a residual? There's people trying to copy it. It's very hard to do because there's some real fine lines legally with it. But what it really means is you come to the company. We offer a training program that runs in excess of a couple $1,000s to put you through it. Doesn't cost you anything. But here's how it really works. You see, in the real estate business, you're on your own. You're as good as your last deal. At least that's what everybody always tells it. So what they have done at Exit is try to change that a little bit. Everybody who comes to the company is on a 70-30 split to $100,000. 90-10 above that. That's every year. Okay, what's the 70-30? Well, the company runs on 20. I, as a broker, take 20%, which I pay all our bills, expenses, everything else. 10% of that portion goes to whoever it was sponsored you into the company. I want you to think about this. That means if you have a closing as an agent and you make, let's have an example, not a big closing, but you make $5,000. 70-30 split. You take 70% of the $5,000, $3,500, 10% of the 5,500 will go to the person who sponsored you. $1,000 goes to keep the company doors open. But it even goes further than that. Let's say after 15 years you get tired and you want to just relax. Well, one of the problems in our business is, boy, if you haven't put some money away, you have a problem. Well, with our company, what happens to you is you can retire. Instead of that 10% figure, we'll still send you 7% for everybody that you sponsored into the company. That's right, 7%, and you're doing nothing. You just get a check every month. And even better than that, if you happen to sponsor somebody while you're retired, you get 7% off the person who sponsored while you're retired. How many retirement programs do you know they'll actually pay you after you've retired? And there's always that hang-up. What happens when somebody passes away? And I can say that because I've had friends who have passed away in this book. Generally speaking, most families get little or nothing of even their last deals that happen to be there. What we do is we still pay your family 5% of the gross of anybody you sponsored then, even after you were gone. A little bit of a security blanket for you and your family. Is it perfect? No. Nothing is perfect. But it's just one of the three opportunities you have a traditional, you have 100%, which you may want to look at later on in your career, who knows. I kind of consider the profit sharing, the residuals in the same packet, although they're totally different. Because you have to understand, see, a residual is 10% of the gross. Profit sharing is after all the profits have been taken out. And, you know, what happens if you have a bad month? Well, that's a carryover loss. Their profit disappears. Just think about what you're going to do. Take the time, find out what their training's about, find out exactly how they're going to handle things. And companies I want to warn you about, they are what I call the new breed. Also called them body shops. Many of them are non-realtor, which I will have nothing to do with. Non-realtor basically mean I want to go out and try to sell real estate. I do not want to subscribe to the code of ethics. And I'm just going to try to do as many deals as I can, see how much money I can make, because I'm only being charged $200 a month and I get to keep everything else. Well, what those are based and designed on is if I can get 1,000 agents paying me $200 a month, not a bad income for me as the broker. And then I don't care if you do 1, 2 deals a year, 3 deals a year. I still get my $100 to $200 a month off every agent in the office. It is one type of marketing plan. So you want to take a look at those things. They're all out there. I would advise you, if you're starting out in the business, you want to be affiliated with a realtor office. We'll talk about it at a later time. Just a word to the wise. I've never seen anybody who made a career out of working in a body shop. You want a place where people work together and they think about things together. Things to do when you walk into an office, regardless of which one it is. The broker will tell you you are wonderful. Take the time to interview some of the agents. Find out if they like you. Find out if you like them. Find out how hard they work. Find out, do they really have a good training program? I guarantee you the agents in the office will tell you where a broker might be trying to fluff things just a little bit. Our goal in this series has been to try to get you to understand what you're walking into. Great career, unbelievable possibilities. If you take a wrong turn, things can get pretty ugly. And nobody wants to see that money lost or gone in another direction when, if it was done correctly and if you're trained correctly, the opportunity to make a great living, have a lot of free time, is right in front of you. Once again, I apologize for the first two. If I get a chance, I'll go back and re-record those. But I just wanted to tell you, take your time when you pick a company. Remember, there's a broker for everybody. Don't get in a hurry. Don't get in a panic. When you have your license, you take your time and you interview with people. Be sure if somebody makes you a promise, talk to the other people around that office so you make sure promises are kept. I'd hate to see you get burnt. And with that, I'm going to end today's session and say thanks a million for being with us, and look forward to talking to you next time. Go out there and make it a great day.